When people think of the American Northeast, they usually picture bustling cities. They imagine New York City with its towering skyscrapers, or Boston with its rich history. They think of crowded highways, busy train stations, and a general sense of hurried life. It's a region known for its dense population and its important role in the nation's story. You can drive for hours and never really feel like you've left civilization behind. There always seems to be a town, a gas station, or at the very least, a Dunkin' Donuts just around the corner, which is honestly a comfort to many. This is the Northeast that makes it into movies and postcards. But there is another Northeast, a much quieter and wilder version that most people never see. I call it the Deep Northeast. It's a vast expanse of land that feels a world away from the busy coastal corridor. This is a place where the towns are small and far apart, and the forests are so thick they seem to swallow the sky. It's the northernmost parts of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Here, the landscape doesn't just contain nature, the landscape nature. It's a part of the country where the maps still have large, empty green spaces, which is always a promising sign. This region is America's forgotten corner, a frontier that was never fully tamed. While the rest of the East Coast was being developed, built up, and paved over, this area remains stubborn and wild. The mountains are too steep, the winters too cold, and the forests too dense for easy living. It's not a place you pass through on your way to somewhere else. You have to want to go there. And because so few people do, it has kept a character all its own, a sort of rugged, silent independence that you can feel in the air. Getting there feels like traveling back in time. The 4-lane highways become 2-lane roads, and then those roads become winding country lanes. Cell phone service flickers and then disappears completely. You start to notice that the houses are farther apart and the spaces between them are filled with nothing but trees. It's a gradual, quiet transition. Suddenly, you realize you haven't seen another car for 20 minutes, and the only sound is the wind in the pines. This is where the real adventure begins, in a part of America that has stubbornly refused to be tamed. The geography of the Deep Northeast is dominated by two things: trees and mountains. And I mean, really, a lot of trees. Northern Maine, for instance, is home to the North Maine Woods, a managed forest land that covers more than 3.5 million acres. That's an area even larger than the state of Connecticut, with almost no public roads and very few people. The forests are a mix of pine, spruce, fir, and birch. They stretch in every direction, a great green sea of trees that ripples over hills and valleys. It's honestly a humbling sight to stand on a small hill and see nothing but an unbroken canopy of forest all the way to the horizon. Then there are the mountains. While not as tall as the Rockies out west, the mountains of northern New England are rugged and formidable. In New Hampshire, you have the White Mountains, which are famous for their unpredictable and severe weather. Mount Washington, the highest peak in the Northeast, is known for having some of the worst weather on Earth. The Appalachian Mountains cut a path straight through this region, creating a rocky spine that makes travel difficult. These aren't gentle, rolling hills. They are steep, rocky, and often unforgiving, a constant challenge to anyone trying to get from one place to another. This combination of dense forest and rugged terrain has shaped everything about the region. Building a road here isn't just a matter of paving a flat surface. It means blasting through granite, navigating steep grades, and clearing an endless supply of trees. For early settlers, this was an almost impossible task. They would clear a small patch of land for a farm, only to be surrounded by a wilderness that was always trying to reclaim it. The forest was both a resource, providing timber and fuel, and a constant looming presence that kept communities isolated. Even today, the landscape dictates life. The main industries are tied directly to the land: logging, paper mills, and tourism for those who want to hike, hunt, or fish. You don't find many corporate headquarters or tech startups in the middle of the Great North Woods. The geography simply doesn't allow for it. It's a place where you have to work with the land, not against it, because the land will always win. It is a powerful and constant reminder that nature is in charge here, a fact that is pretty easy to forget in more developed parts of the world. If the forests and mountains are the bones of the deep Northeast, then winter is its soul, and what a harsh soul it is. Winter in this part of the country is not just a season, it's a dominant force that shapes every aspect of life. It arrives early, often in November, and stays late, sometimes not releasing its grip until May. It is long, it is cold, and it is relentless. Snowfall is measured not in inches, but in feet. It's not uncommon for the region to get over 100 inches of snow in a single winter, and temperatures frequently drop to 20 or 30 degrees below zero, not even counting the wind chill. This extreme cold and heavy snow are the main reasons why so few people live here. Farming is difficult because the growing season is incredibly short. Construction and outdoor work grind to a halt for months at a time. Just getting around becomes a major challenge. Roads can be closed for days after a big storm, and even when they are plowed, they are often icy and treacherous. People who live here have to be prepared. They stock up on food, fuel, and supplies, knowing that they might be cut off from the outside world for a while. It requires a certain kind of resilience and self-sufficiency. The sheer weight of the snow can be destructive. It can collapse roofs, snap tree branches, and bring down power lines, leaving communities in the dark and cold for days. I once read about a town in northern Maine that was without power for over a week after a particularly nasty ice storm. The residents had to rely on wood stoves for heat and cooking. They checked on their neighbors and shared resources. It's a way of life that fosters a strong sense of community, born out of shared hardship. You have to be able to depend on your neighbors when the nearest help might be an hour's drive away on a good day. For outsiders, the winter can seem beautiful, but terrifying. The landscape is transformed into a pristine world of white, silent, and still. But for the people who call this place home, it's just a part of the annual rhythm. They have snowmobiles to get around, generators for when the power goes out, and a deep understanding of how to survive and even thrive in the cold. Winter is the great filter. It weeds out those who are not prepared for its challenges, leaving behind only the most determined and hardy souls. It is the ultimate gatekeeper of the deep Northeast. In most of America, we take our infrastructure for granted. We expect roads to be paved, well-maintained, and clearly marked. We rely on our GPS to guide us flawlessly from point A to point B. But in the deep Northeast, these expectations are often not met. The road network is sparse, and the roads that do exist can be rough. Many are logging roads, unpaved, unnamed dirt tracks that crisscross the vast forests. These roads are not on any standard map, and they certainly aren't in your GPS database. Taking a wrong turn here doesn't mean a 5-minute detour. It could mean getting lost for hours in a wilderness with no cell service. This is one of the few places left in the continental United States where GPS can be genuinely unreliable. The satellite signal can be blocked by the dense tree cover and the steep mountain valleys. Even when it works, the GPS might try to direct you onto a private logging road that is gated, washed out, or simply impassable for a regular car. I've heard stories of people blindly following their navigation systems and ending up stuck in the mud miles from anywhere, with no way to call for help. It's a humbling reminder that technology has its limits, and that a good old-fashioned paper map is still an essential tool in this part of the world. The isolation created by this limited road network is profound. Some communities are connected to the outside world by only a single road. If that road gets blocked by a snowstorm, a flood, or a fallen tree, the town is effectively cut off. This isolation makes everything more difficult. Getting groceries, going to the doctor, or sending kids to school can involve long drives on challenging roads. Emergency services face the same obstacles. A fire truck or an ambulance might have to travel 30 or 40 miles to reach a remote home, a journey that can take over an hour in bad weather. This difficulty in travel is a fundamental reason why the region has remained so sparsely populated. It's hard to build a thriving economy when it's so difficult to transport goods and people. The railroad lines that once served the logging and paper industries have largely been abandoned. The cost of maintaining roads in such a harsh environment is enormous. As a result, the region remains a place apart, a landscape defined by its inaccessibility. It's a place where you have to be content with being a little bit lost, and where the journey itself is often the biggest adventure. Across the deep Northeast, you can find the quiet, sad evidence of communities that have slowly faded away. These are the vanishing towns, places that were once bustling with life, but are now little more than a collection of abandoned houses and overgrown fields. Many of these towns were founded in the 19th century, built around a single industry, like logging, mining, or farming. For a time, they prospered. They had a general store, a post office, a school, and a church. But when the industry died, when the mine ran out of ore or the paper mill closed down, the town's reason for being disappeared with it. The decline is a slow and painful process. First, the young people leave, seeking jobs and opportunities elsewhere. The school closes due to a lack of students. The general store can no longer stay in business. The houses fall into disrepair, their paint peeling, and their windows boarded up. Eventually, all that's left are a few elderly residents, clinging to the place they have always called home. In some cases, the towns disappear from the map altogether. The state of Maine, for example, has dozens of unorganized territories, vast areas with no local government because there are too few people to sustain one. One such place is the former town of Spectacle Ponds in New Hampshire. It was a small logging community that thrived in the early 20th century, but as the timber was harvested and the logging companies moved on, the town slowly emptied out. Today, there's almost nothing left to show that it ever existed, just a few cellar holes hidden in the woods and a handful of gravestones in a forgotten cemetery. It's a powerful testament to how quickly nature can reclaim what humans have built. The forest has silently swallowed the town, leaving only ghosts and memories behind. Yet amidst this decline, there is also a remarkable story of persistence. In the towns that hang on, you find a special kind of person. These are the stubborn souls who refuse to leave, who are deeply connected to the land and their community. They are fiercely independent and incredibly resourceful. They run small businesses, work multiple jobs, and look out for one another. They value their quiet, simple way of life and are willing to endure the hardships to protect it. These people are the living heart of the deep Northeast, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of isolation and economic decline. Life in the deep Northeast is, well, fundamentally different from life in the rest of America. It operates on a different rhythm, one that's really dictated by the seasons and the land. There's a quietness here that's honestly hard to find anywhere else. The absence of noise, no traffic, no sirens, no constant hum of activity can be kind of startling at first. But, you become more aware of the natural sounds, the wind in the trees, the call of a loon across a lake, the crunch of snow under your boots. It's a place that encourages a slower, more deliberate way of living. People here just don't seem to be in as much of a hurry. This lifestyle is built on a foundation of self-reliance. You really have to know how to do things for yourself, because help is often far away. Many people heat their homes with wood they cut and split themselves. They grow their own vegetables in the short summer months and preserve them for the long winter. Folks know how to fix a leaky pipe, repair a car engine, or deal with a power outage. There's a pride in this capability, a sense of satisfaction that comes from being able to provide for oneself and one's family. It's kind of a throwback to an older, more practical way of American life. Community also takes on a different meaning here. In a small, isolated town, you know everyone, and everyone knows you. This can be both a comfort and, a challenge. There is very little anonymity, but it also means that there is a strong social fabric. When someone is sick, neighbors bring them food. When a family's house burns down, the whole town rallies to help them rebuild. There are potluck dinners, town meetings, and local festivals that bring everyone together. It's a level of interconnectedness that has been lost in many larger, more anonymous suburbs and cities. Of course, this life is not for everyone. The isolation can be lonely. The lack of amenities, like high-speed internet, diverse restaurants, or large shopping centers, can be frustrating. The long, dark winters can lead to a sense of cabin fever. But for those who choose to live here, the trade-offs are worth it. They are rewarded with a deep connection to nature, a strong sense of community, and a peacefulness that is increasingly rare in the modern world. They are living on the edge of the map, and honestly, they wouldn't have it any other way. When most Americans imagine New England, they picture quaint coastal towns, colonial history, and Ivy League universities. They think of places like Boston, Newport, and Cape Cod. This is the New England of history books and tourist brochures, charming, prosperous, and densely populated. It's a region defined by its connection to the Atlantic Ocean and its role as the cradle of American industry and intellectual life. It's a place of culture, wealth, and influence. This is the New England that the rest of the country knows and recognizes, a place of red brick and white church steeples. But the deep Northeast is a world apart from this image. It is the other New England, the one that is defined not by the ocean, but by the forest. Its history is not one of merchants and scholars, but of loggers, trappers, and farmers scratching out a living from a difficult land. The culture here is less about high society and more about practical skills and quiet endurance. It's a place where a person is judged not by their education or their wealth, but by their work ethic and their willingness to help a neighbor. It feels, in many ways, more like a part of the rugged American West than the sophisticated East. The economic and social differences are stark. While southern New England is one of the wealthiest and most educated parts of the country, the deep Northeast struggles with poverty and a lack of opportunity. The decline of the timber and paper industries has hit the region hard, leaving behind unemployment and a shrinking population. This has created a cultural and political divide within the states of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. The southern parts of these states are more liberal, more developed, and more integrated with the rest of the Northeast. The northern parts are more conservative, more rural, and fiercely independent. This contrast makes the region a fascinating place of internal contradictions. You can drive a few hours within the same state and feel like you've crossed into a different country. You leave behind the suburbs and strip malls and enter a world of dense woods and tiny towns. The accents change, the politics change, and the whole feel of the place changes. It's a reminder that even in a small, seemingly homogeneous region like New England, there are vast differences. The deep Northeast is the region's wild, untamed heart, a place that has resisted the forces of modernization that have transformed its southern neighbors. To walk through the forests of the deep Northeast is to walk through layers of history. The land tells a story if you know how to read it. Long before the Europeans arrived, this was the home of native peoples like the Abenaki. They had a deep and intimate knowledge of the land, moving with the seasons to hunt, fish, and gather. They left behind few permanent structures, but their presence can still be felt in the names of the rivers and mountains, like Katahdin and Androscoggin. Their story is a crucial, though often overlooked, part of the region's identity. Then came the European settlers, who saw the forest not as a home, but as a resource to be exploited. The era of logging began, and for over a century the woods echoed with the sound of axes and saws. Great white pines, some over 200 feet tall, were cut down to be used as masts for the ships of the British Royal Navy. Rivers were choked with logs during the spring drives, as lumberjacks guided them downstream to the mills. It was dangerous, back-breaking work, and it transformed the landscape. The old-growth forests were almost completely wiped out, replaced by the second-growth woods we see today. You can still find relics of this era hidden in the woods. If you look closely, you might stumble upon the stone foundations of an old farm, slowly being reclaimed by moss and trees. You might find remnants of an old logging camp, a rusty saw blade, a broken piece of pottery, or the remains of a stone fireplace. In some places, you can even see the deep ruts of old roads, now completely overgrown, that were once used to haul timber out of the forest. These are quiet reminders of the lives that were lived here, of the struggles and triumphs of people who tried to tame this wilderness. This history has left a deep mark on the character of the region. There's a sense of melancholy in the woods, a feeling of loss for the great forests that are gone and the communities that have vanished. But there's also a sense of resilience. The forest has grown back, and life goes on. The stories of the loggers, the farmers, and the native peoples are woven into the fabric of the place. They are a part of the identity of the deep Northeast, a region that has been shaped by a long and often difficult relationship between people and the land. In the end, what makes the deep Northeast so unique is a simple and powerful fact. Nature is still in charge here. In most of America, we've managed to bend the environment to our will. We've dammed rivers, flattened mountains, and paved over prairies. We've created a world where we are largely insulated from the forces of nature. But in this northern corner of the country, that has never been fully accomplished. The wilderness is not a park to be visited. It's a powerful, ever-present force that dictates the terms of human existence. It is the true and final authority. The winters are too long, the mountains too rugged, and the forests too vast for humans to ever gain the upper hand. For every road that is built, a frost heave will crack it. For every field that is cleared, the forest will try to reclaim it. The region's remoteness and difficult geography have acted as a shield, protecting it from the kind of large-scale development that has transformed so much of the country. The very things that make it a difficult place to live are also the things that have preserved its wild character. It is a beautiful and humbling paradox. This is why the region remains a sanctuary for wildlife that has disappeared from much of the East. It is one of the few places where you can still find a healthy population of moose, black bears, and bald eagles. The clean, cold rivers are home to native brook trout. The deep woods provide a habitat for shy creatures like the Canada lynx and the pine marten. The continued presence of these animals is a clear sign that the ecosystem here is still largely intact. They are a living testament to the fact that this is a place where nature's rule has not been broken. So while the rest of the Northeast hums with the energy of millions of people, the deep Northeast remains quiet, empty, and wild. It is a land of silence, solitude, and immense natural beauty. It is a place that reminds us of the power and persistence of the natural world. It shows us that there are still corners of this continent that have not been fully tamed, where the ancient rhythms of the seasons matter more than the frantic pace of modern life. And for that, we should be profoundly grateful. Nature remains the unchallenged ruler here, and honestly, long may it reign.